friends, introducing the creative process of the improvisationalist Gene Coleman and the experimental video art of Doron Altaratz, aka VJ Sputnik. Then we have the eccentric art of angel idealism, but first we'll see the world through the photographic eye of Igor Zusev. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show!
Yeah, let's have some fun. That's right.
All right, well, hello, my name is Igor Zusev. It's a very unique name. I do photography, I do graphic design. I love photography. I've done it since I was a kid and left it for a while during immigration. We came to the States in '89. New York is definitely an inspiring city for any kind of artist, be it photographer, be it an illustrator, be it anybody else. So it's been an interesting trip, especially since I got to travel all over the world so far because of the Navy thing. But now I'm back in the States and back in the game. Well, one of the photos I wanted to show was this one. This is of a girl in a Shinto shrine in Japan. Japan has thousands of Shinto shrines, and some of the images there are amazing, like this one. Every Shinto shrine has a lion standing by it. It's one lion closed mouth, one lion open mouth with a ball in it. If the legend goes, if the ball ever falls out, then the Shinto shrine needs to be destroyed, taken apart. My stepfather inspired me to do photography. He bought me my first camera when I was very young. I was about 7 or 8, and I just wanted a camera because I saw that he had one. But before we left Russia, I was actually getting kind of good. I was only 8 years old, and they already had my photography displayed. Also, something you see in Japan is, or you don't see rather, is a lot of begging. It's very, very rare. If monasteries need money, they will have a monk like this, standing outside and simply holding a collection plate. They'll never talk to you, they'll never say a word. And this is actually from Osaka, Japan. And they simply just stand there, hold out their hand, I guess, all day, and you drop in money if you want to. If you don't have to. One of the things I like to do is go to, let's say, a club or some sort of a public place and do nothing but sit there and watch people, and the forms, whether it be dancing or just partying or anything else that people do, is always inspiring for photography. This was a master chief on our boat. She's been in the Navy for 32 years. And this is a perfect representation of what an old sailor is. I was contacted by the paparazzi, the people who control the paparazzi because they like my photography. Part of my style includes shooting off the hip. Like I'll walk around with a camera not here, but here. And I learned to aim it so well that I can get the picture I want just by simply walking and controlling my wrist. So they kind of like that style. You obviously understand why. So they contacted me. I don't know if I'll take that job. Probably not. I don't want to be a paparazzi, not really. This was once again off the hip shot where the guy was simply walking by. I saw his face and actually followed him for about a block or two. And then he turned around and started walking the other way into the wind so you could see his hair rustling. And it took me about 3 good tries to get this guy. I feel a lot of joy when I hear people say that my work made them feel somehow. And I've had that on a few occasions, where somebody would be looking at a piece of photography and they say, this makes me feel so, or somehow different. That's really, I think, what artists are looking for, to change people and to change the way they think. I think that's when you really are successful. Whether you make money or not is a totally separate issue. You're successful when you can, well, when you can change people's opinions. This one is of a higher ranking chief. I actually took that while we were working. They allowed me to bring my camera out sometimes. This was done with 35, that's done with the Nikon I showed you. And this is once again an off-the-hip shot. He hated being taken pictures of. He absolutely hated it. So if he didn't see it, it didn't bother him. So he never saw this, but it came out to be a great shot. I love the light, I love the way his expression, and you can see his uniform and how focused he is and what's going on outside. All right, well, thanks for watching. I hope whatever I talked about, which is primarily myself, but I hoped it helped somehow. And if you'd like to see some more of my work, check out my site. It's www.zusevdesigns.net, and my wife's work is on there too. And hey, anything you want to talk about, give us a call.
Idealism is the struggle against cynicism in the face of adversity. Grace, a movement, a school of fish swimming up a bitter stream of consciousness without losing the sweetness in their gills. Hi, I'm Angel Eyedealism.
I'd like to take a minute to talk about my feelings.
I do a lot of things, but mostly I'm singing these days. It's a hybrid mix of opera, jazz, trip-hop grooves, computer messed up beats. We actually put my tracks in the computer, and my friend changes them up while I'm singing, so it sort of keeps me on my toes. Well, I think of myself as a living art form. I think of myself as a canvas, so in a sense I am a painter. I have a painted face, I have painted toenails. I paint my shoes. I often hand paint my clothes. I have my costumes made for me, but I tell the designer how I want them. I have been a painter over the years, but I more specifically paint myself. And I think of my my vocals as sort of painting the air. I mean, it is an art form in and of itself, what I do. I really haven't seen anybody else do it. It's original. I don't know, I just feel like boringness is taking over the world. The kids today are just boring. They're supposed to be rebels, but I mean, today's youth is supposed to be what kickstarts the next generation. But it's like everybody's, artistically, I feel like people are being tame and safe, and there doesn't seem to be much of a feminist movement. I mean, it's just sort of like blandness is set in. So it's not my thing to be bland, and if I'm over the top, it's the way that I just am.
Predators unwelcome in this, predators unwelcome in this barren noble land.
Well, I personally love complaining, when people say I can't complain, but I must. I think that if you complain as a way to facilitate change, if you just bitch and go on and on and on, it doesn't work. But I feel that artists are supposed to have an edge. They're supposed to show some other side, some other view, other than what corporate America, and the whole world has become corporate America. I continue to do what it is that I do, and I don't think, oh, if I, make this song like this, then it can be a car commercial, and that's the way a lot of artists these days think. They think if I can just do something that's commercially viable, then I can be a star.
Spider's touch, such a cold finger.
If you have to work a side job, do something that's still organic with you, so that it's not such a stretch going from that job to being a metal rocker or whatever it is that you do. If you're a painter, if you're a heavy metal artist, whatever, just do something that can make you dough in a short amount of time that can help you to support your art habit.
It's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger.
But artists have something, if you're a real artist, you have something that nobody else has. You have your own unique, original form of expression.
Golden words seem to form in your ear, but it's lies can't defy what you hear. For a golden guy knows when he's kissed her. It's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger. Pretty girl, beware of this heart of gold. This heart is gold.
Hey kids, thanks for watching. This is art or something like it. And I am Angel Eyedealism, and if you want more information on me, my website is www.angelirecords.com, and that's EYE, not the letter I. Okay? See you. Bye.
Touch me this time, touch me this time.
Hi, my name is Doron Altaratz. I'm a visual artist and I'm doing installation art, video art. Originally I'm from Israel. I've only been in New York for the past 3 years, but I've been doing art back in Israel, and of course also I've been doing a lot of stuff here. New York is the center of the art world today. I truly believe that the amount of talented people that you find here it's huge. There's so many talented people and so much art going on, so many opportunities. I was also very interested to find a place where I could feel home and not to feel like a stranger or a foreigner, and I think New York is definitely the best place to feel that. My creative process is very wide. I put a lot of hats when I am creating my visuals. Some of them I've just created out of scratch. For example, 3D animations, which I use different 3D software to create the world or the objects that I'm using. Another option is I just go ahead and shoot my own video, or I use my own photography. But in spite of that, I'm also using a lot of things that I rip and find or manipulate in one way or another. There's tremendous source of information and visuals out there, and one of the way of creating something new is by using, in a way, the old. So a lot of times what I do, I simply take things that have been already created, ready-made, and I use them into building something new that did not exist before. I see technology just as another tool. Just as the painter has its paintbrushes, I think that new technology is another tool for an artist to express himself. So this piece that it's right now playing in the background is called The Golden Gate, It's a video art that I've created last year, and basically it's talking about an area in Jerusalem called Har Moriah, which is the place where, if you look at the essence of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it's all eventually summons up to an area which is around 400 square meters. It's a really tiny area. And what I've done, I've logged into 2 webcams that are constantly sending images from the 2 sides of that area. On one side there's the wall, the Jewish wall, the Kotel, and on the other hand, on the other side of that area, there is the Golden Gate, which is a sealed gate, and it's been sealed for hundreds of years. And I've took 24 hours session of these 2 video cameras, webcams, and I've captured it, and I've time-lapsed it and squeezed it into 3.5 minutes. So what you can see is you can actually see this period of time, and you can see like the people moving there, and it's really interesting because eventually it's all just, there's a lot of small people living there, but eventually it's all just like pieces of stones standing in there. So I thought that the video was a little bit talking about what it's all about. The conflict, it's basically territorial. And I call the piece the Golden Gate because the interesting thing is about that gate that is being sealed. That rumor says, or legend says, that the only person that can actually open that sealed gate is the Messiah, which kind of like, I feel, what everyone is waiting for. Everyone is waiting for that Messiah to show up. So, thanks for watching me. My name is Doron Altaratz. If you want to check some more of my stuff, please do so and visit my website. It's www.vjspotnik.com, and thank you all for joining me.
Hello, my name is Coleman. I'm a soprano saxophonist. You may see beside the soprano saxophone standing there a collection of flutes because I happen to double on flute, and I'm also somewhat a composer. I don't really consider myself a composer. I do what I call improvisational composition. Let me explain that. I used to have a career as a sound mixer doing sound design, and even at that time there were like people that were into performance art. Most of my clients was people that were looking for like music tracks for their performance art, and they would come into the studio that I happened to be working at the time, and we would just like strictly improvise things on the spot, and then that would be like set as a composition. I often thought that like if I took the time to transcribe it, to notate it, then that would be a standard composition. So none of my compositions really exist in notation, but they exist on playback mediums. People often ask me, well, how did I get involved with making art or playing music? Well, it started when I was in high school. I had family members that was musicians, uncle, cousins. They used to bring musicians that people would hear on records home for rehearsals. And so I was surrounded by music, and I always thought that it would be nice to play an instrument. So when I got into high school, I wanted to play saxophone, but back then in those days, they had this curriculum that you had to start on certain instruments before you got to the one that you really liked. And those who are old enough to remember that, you surely know how that happened. So I wound up playing flute. So I played flute through high school, and believe it or not, I sort of forgot about saxophone because I really enjoyed playing flute. It seems like it was there. Maybe I was destined only because of my background, and I remember like always listening to music ever since I was a young kid, old enough to put a record on or turn a radio on to listen to music. I just have this need to create art, create music. And once I got started, I never even really thought about making money at it or whatever, or being rich and famous, even if it never would happen. Although, like in a way, I do hope to be well known eventually. I would just still play music because it's just like an inner need. That's probably what inspires me to create art. I've been lucky where like all my other like sort of day jobs I've had have been in creative fields, such as being a sound mixer, such as working in television production. Do I consider myself a success or successful? Well, I do. It may not be in terms of monetary success, but it's in terms of creative accomplishment for myself. The other day I was working on a piece of music, and something happened where I said, hey, I wasn't able to do that a year ago or even yesterday, so I'm being successful. The other day I was just noodling around and I came across this sequence, I guess. And so I felt like maybe it might work as a tune. So this is just like in the elementary stages, and I'll play a little bit of it, just give you an idea how the process goes. So then what happens is that I'll just try to take that and maybe form it into something like, if you're familiar with music, like the AABA form or whatever. It's just a rough sketch, but it takes me a long time to work on things like that. I wish I was more prolific. This is Gene Coleman. Thanks for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about myself. And for those who might be interested in learning more about me or where I might be performing or whatever, you can always email me at grcmusic, that's grcmuzik @earthlink.net. Thank you again. Bye.
Thanks to all the artists and all the people that made this show possible. Special thanks to New York City for providing a breeding ground of creativity.
It's art, or something like it's art, or something like it.
This is Art or Something Like It, presenting a gallery of amazing artists each and every week, and more integrity than he can shake a stick at. For more information about the show, or any of the artists on the show, please visit artorsomethinglikeit.com. Next time you experience something new and you don't know what to make of it, you should ask yourself, is it art or something like it? Thank you. Good night.
I'm art or something like it. I'm art or something like it. I'm art or something like it. I'm art or something like it.